Yeah. We get lit, we get fly, we talk stuff, we get high. But to the masses, we a podcast called Verified. I am your host. I am JopauL. We are brought to you by tmtfunding.info. They are the alternative source for business financing. If your bank says no, they will say yes. Give them a call. Check them out. tmtfunding.info. They are our sponsors for the day. So make sure if your business is in need, that they're the ones that you call. Well, I'm your host. I am JopauL. We are here for the Verified podcast. And we are just getting over a little earthquake in New York, which is crazy. And I know that you, being on the West Coast, probably experience that all the time. But here it was a little crazy. So, I appreciate, your patience. I appreciate everyone at home, for any technical, difficulties that we're having. But we have a great guest for you today. We have a modern day Jewish superhero. We have the flag guy. You might have seen him in front of all of these campuses with all of these protests. And this guy's just standing there firm. Israeli flag, American flag. Like, what's up? What do you want to do? But he does it in a peaceful manner, and he does it as a form of educating to open up a dialogue. So without further ado, the flag guy. I mean, how do you want me to call you? You want me to say, hey, FG, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, whatever you like. The flag guy is good. The main thing is I'm just staying anonymous because this is not about me, and I like my anonymity.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. I respect that completely. And I tell a lot of people, when it comes to, getting the message out there, I don't even care if it's me, that gets the credit. As long as the message gets out there, you could put a fucking pig with shit all over my face. I don't even care. As long as the message gets out there, I literally have zero care in the world about me getting famous or getting some sort of credit because of this. So, but I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. So, let's jump right into it. Let's get started. So obviously you're Jewish because I see that you're wearing a Jewish star. So that's a misconception, which I've seen from a couple of your videos that people like, are you even Jewish? And I saw some guy was like, you're making it difficult for Jews like me. And you're like, get out of here, you wimpy Jew. Like you're not up for the fight. But I appreciate all that you do for our people. It's an amazing thing. And there really needs to be more people like you. That's why I needed to have you on my podcast immediately. I mean, chance to have a Jewish superhero on my platform. Shit, I'll take it all day long.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's kind of funny to hear you call me a superhero. I'm really a regular guy, very flawed person. And
as we all are.
As we all are. So, I'm just a regular guy, but I think October 7th changed me. It broke my heart. And I think that most people, when they're heartbroken, people have different reactions. I became very angry after I saw that. And, instead of going to synagogue and praying and lighting candles, I wanted to do something active. And so, in the beginning, I really had no intention of becoming the flag guy. The first time I did anything, I actually didn't even go there with a camera. It was just for the people that were there and for myself. But I saw that the reaction that it received was so popular that I decided to start bringing somebody with me to just record them. And, the misconceptions that you've seen about me being Jewish or not, I stand there for hours, sometimes 3-4 hours, and I have to figure out how to edit it all in a 90-second reel. And give you the context and the story, which is very difficult, which is why, I err on the side of caution now, at least when it comes to just the presentation of myself and what happened, because people can be very, very critical. And so, I've become careful with that. But, like you said, I'm not looking to create any kind of a violent, angry movement. I'm trying to, as you said, educate, and most importantly, really just help the kids. This is for the kids,
and they need it. These kids today, I mean,
yeah.
Excuse me. I'd like to hold a lot of the parents responsible and put them all in a room and just start choking them one by one and saying, like, what the fuck? Like, where were you when your kids were being indoctrinated by these friggin' animals? And it is the craziest thing that I've ever seen. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people. And, I had the deputy mayor of Jerusalem on my show last week. And, she shares in the same sentiment that it's like the people of today are almost indoctrinated like UNRWA has indoctrinated the Palestinians. It's like they have spread their propaganda amongst the the elite colleges, and it has turned out to be an absolute nightmare because Jewish people are scared all over the place, and there's only so much that us individually can do. But in the grand scheme of things, it seems like this was a well orchestrated plan to basically try to intimidate and ostracize the Jewish people. And that's one thing that we kind of have experience with over, I don't know, about 3,500 years, is how to deal with, adversity, persecution, and people wanting to annihilate us. It's not a good not a good thing to have on our resume, but we do have the experience. But these kids today, they don't really know the story. They don't know the history. They don't really know the struggle. All they know is these people hate us for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you. There is a coordinated attack on Jews all over the world. One of the important things that we saw, Bill Ackman, the hedge fund owner who graduated from Harvard, he exposed the Harvard corruption with Claudine Gay, MIT, and some of the other schools. And what we've come to see is that the number one donor of these Ivy League schools has become foreign foes like Qatar and China. And they have, very clever, they've donated huge sums of money and have taken over the institutions and are now teaching anti-Semitism. And so my goal now is not to educate the students about the history even. My goal is to educate them about how Jews should react to this. What is the Jewish approach?
Okay.
And one of my frustrations has always been with the rabbis. Just, you talked about background. I went to Orthodox Jewish schools for 20 years. I wore a kippah, still do often. So I've earned the right to an opinion. And I had some very frustrating discussions with the rabbis because I did not like seeing basically everybody just going into their houses, saying some prayers, and going back to work. Okay, there are people in Israel that are out of jobs. I'm not even just talking about what happened on October 7th. I'm talking about the entire country has been inconvenienced by this. And in solidarity, I often hear people saying, I can't show up to this protest because I have work. Well, so does the people in Israel.
Right.
And we have to be
and some people
asking
can't
ourselves,
even go to their jobs because of the terror situation. You have thousands of displaced Israelis, from the north because of missiles from Hezbollah. You have a whole bunch of people that are displaced around the border of Gaza because of what Hamas has done this entire time. So it's not like people have a grave misconception of what Israel is going through right now. And I try to tell people in America, that try to voice their opinions in a certain way, and it's gotten a little ridiculous with the whole political landscape. America has no idea what it's like to have Canada and Mexico possibly taking over and firing rockets in us, or from the internal
it's worse. It's like having it come from Wyoming, right in the middle.
Right. Imagine Native Americans just decided to coordinate and say, you know what? This is our land. We're just gonna take over and start raping and killing people. So it's like we don't have experience dealing with that. So I don't understand how we really can give advice to Israel on how they should conduct themselves when they have a pretty good track record in the past like 20 or so years since modern day technology has caught up with the world, where they've actually been the most humane army and force that's on the globe today, and there are stats that can back it up. But it's like, I'm glad that you stand in the forefront, because you're putting yourself literally right on the front line in harm's way. And when I see your videos, it's almost like I wish I had that magic power to just jump in there and get this. All right, I'm right there next to you. Who wants what? But
yeah, and that's what I'd like to see happen is, I get a lot of requests to come out to people's schools or to come stand with them with the flags. What I would love to see is for people to go do it themselves and then send me a video. We'll put it up for you. And I want to empower and embolden people to do the same thing, because I can't go everywhere. I have 3 kids. I have businesses. I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, you have a life. I get it.
So I do my best, but I can't be everywhere. But I do want to show, like I said, the Jewish students in the schools. If you're 15 years old, 20 years old, you're learning from people in Jewish schools that really aren't, in my opinion, giving the Jewish approach to this. I don't try to convince anybody about the rights and wrongs and morals of this. I think everybody has made up their minds already.
Yeah.
I want to show the Jewish people that real Jews are not fearful, weak people. This is a stereotype that has been perpetuated by the world onto us. And if you look back at real Jews, like Judah the Maccabee, Bar Kokhba,
Yeah,
Joshua,
Yehuda Maccabeus.
the whole story of the Bible is about Jewish warriors. King David is a Jewish warrior. The reason God picked King David is because King David represented God himself. God is a warrior. It's mentioned that way many times. Actually, at Mount Sinai, the commentary of Rashi explains God calls himself by a different name at Sinai than he did at the splitting of the sea. But he says, I'm the same God. And the reason you might have thought otherwise is because at the Sea of Reeds, when he destroyed Egypt, he appeared, it says, as a mighty warrior. And at Mount Sinai, he appeared as a merciful old man. Now, the Jews have the merciful old man side of things now. We're very good, nice people.
I
We're
believe
very
that
easy to manipulate.
was that the time that the name Yahweh was bestowed onto him, or that's what we would consider him?
Yeah, yeah. He appeared as the God of justice with Egypt and the God of mercy with the Jews at Sinai. And so you might have thought these are two different gods, and the commentary is explaining to you, no, this is the same God. The dichotomy of that is what Jews are supposed to do. We are not nice, merciful old men to Hamas or to people on college campuses. And we're not supposed to be scared of them either. The entire story of the Bible is about the Jews being destroyed and us being afraid of that. So history repeats itself, but we are born free. We're born in America. This is not Europe where we're born in the shtetl and we get beaten.
You know, we are out of the
Yeah,
diaspora, and we have to stop acting like we're still in it. You know,
exactly.
the problem with the pogroms of Northern Europe, during the late 19th century, was that Jews had no organization to stand up for themselves, and we were severely outnumbered. We are severely outnumbered now, but the one thing that basically puts us ahead of the curve is our brains. We can think 5 steps ahead if we coordinate and do it effectively. And I feel like the Jews today, where they've been pretty much just going along to get along their entire lives and knowing that everybody kind of hates us. So we kind of, we go above and beyond to make sure that you don't hate us. Now
Right.
we know that you hate us, so there's no reason for us to put on any sort of front. It's like, fuck you. Yeah, no, fuck you. Like that's what it is. But
Well, we're like abused victims. We're the abused housewife that keeps coming back to the person beating us for protection.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
don't
we have,
we
we have
don't
supreme Stockholm syndrome.
yes, and that's come from thousands of years of abuse. Jews have never been able to defend themselves. And so now we have this national trauma where when anti-Semitism comes out, everybody panics. But we have the power now, and we're not weak anymore. And you mentioned our brains. Yes, we have our brains. So do the traitor Jews, the fake ceasefire Jews.
The
What we have
capos.
that nobody else has is that we have the faith, and we have the God of Israel. And the God of Israel, throughout the Bible and throughout history, always likes to show his power through the few and the proud. And he's done that with the Jews many times. And so I think when I go to these rallies, the reason I'm not afraid is because I believe that.
You have
And I
Hashem on
believe
your side.
I have Hashem with me. I have the hostages with me. I have the people that were the sacrifices of October 7th, the Carbon. So I don't, and I don't have any fear anymore of what would happen to me because I see what happened to them. That day was a day of judgment, even though it should have been a happy day. And what we saw is that there was no difference between any Jew whatsoever. It didn't matter who or where, what race, nothing.
Yeah,
They
we were,
wanted
we
they
were all
wanted to kill
ambassadors
everybody.
of Israel, and we were to be held account for the fake propaganda and lies that has been told for I don't know how many years, and finally it manifested itself in one big fucking flaming asshole of anti-Semitism from the entire world simultaneously. If any of you guys are
Yeah.
listening,
And that could have been any one of us. And I think us Jews need to ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice? If that really could have been us, what are we willing to do for those people? What are we willing to do for the hostages? What's the lesson learned? And so, I think everyone needs to sacrifice something. You don't have to do something that's dangerous or that you're uncomfortable with, but the idea that we just say a few prayers and that's it.
Now,
I don't think that works
the
right
time for
now.
just
Yeah,
praying is over.
that's over. Yeah, it's a time for action now.
Yeah, there was I had an interesting conversation the other day. And I act as a mentor to a lot of Jewish influence. I mean, I hate to use the word influencers, but a lot of Jewish accounts that look to me because they see how outspoken I am to kind of lead the way. And I'm no Messiah, I'm no Michael Mashiach Rappaport, but I try and do what I can. And I told them that, like, at the 6 month mark that they've held the hostages, the time for being polite and nice is over. Like, I mean, we tried to go at it from from a view of understanding and compassion. Now the anger and the rage is starting to fuel, because now it's like, even like an accidental airstrike, that unfortunately killed 7 aid workers. You see the headlines going up immediately. See, here's proof: Israel's committing a genocide. They're targeting civilians. That they killed aid workers. And you have, I mean, I don't even want to get into politics, but you have the wrong message by certain leaders that are not conducting themselves in a way that they look out for the Jews that are here in this country, because what they say basically is almost signs a death warrant or gives us a pass. And that shit is getting really confusing and frustrating. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm triggered.
Yeah, look, the reason I follow politics very closely. You can follow my account on Twitter. I'm pretty active there. I love trolling Antonio Guterres and Khomeini. It's great. But they hate Jews. Anytime you're going to see people now criticizing Israel for that kind of thing, it's because they hate Jews.
Yep.
Because like I said, everybody's picked their side. The truth has revealed itself already. So if you can't see it, you're on the wrong side. And I don't really argue with those people anymore. I don't really care what they say. The language that those people understand is power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is in the Middle East. And that's exactly what Israel has decided that they're finally going to show Hamas. They're not going to get pushed around by the anti-Semitic countries or by America, which thinks that Israel is its puppet to protect them in the Middle East. And that's why they still send them money, because they have no choice. They need Israel. As much as
It's the only democratic nation out of surrounding 22, Arab nations, and majority of them, or a portion of them, follow Sharia law, which is basically
they give them all the intelligence.
It's a crazy world that we live in, man. And it's like, I see what you do, and I get such a sense of pride. And I've always stood up for the fact that I was Jewish. And when it came to, like, my music over the course of how many years, everyone always said, "Oh, stay away from the whole white Jewish thing, and hip hop, just show who you are." And I was accepted just, as an equal to, to a lot of, pretty serious people in that industry. But now I'm using all the knowledge and all the power and all the, I mean, I guess perfect word is the chutzpah that I can to show the world that you don't got to be a silent, wimpy Jew. You don't have to get out there in the forefront like the flag guy, and stand there with 2 flags, but you could do your part, because there's only 15 million Jews in the world today, and not all of those 15 million are up for the fight. And the ones that are need your help. So if you could say one thing to the Jews that choose to remain silent or see what's going on and are willfully blind and hope that it passes, I want you to give them a message right now.
Well, I think that what we're going through right now is a biblical time. In 1,000 years from now, they're going to still be talking about October 7th and this war. And sometimes it's hard to see that when you're in it, but that's what I believe. And so I think everybody needs to ask themselves how they want to be remembered for this time. We still celebrate the Maccabees 2,000 years later because of what they did as the few and the proud against the mighty. And they won big time. And I think everybody, if you want to be part of that, you're going to have to do something. Going on Twitter and yelling at someone doesn't count. You got to have some skin in the game.
Agreed.
I think that's what God wants from everybody, is to put some skin in the game here in their own way, whatever speaks to your heart. Everybody has their own causes that speak to them, and that's the ones that you should participate in. But kind of just forgetting about it and going back to life as usual, I don't think that that's an acceptable approach. That's
me either. To act like we're not at a critical stage and a turning point in society is to basically just just throw away 3,500 years of our history. And that's why I like to teach a lot of our history, because when you learn certain aspects of our history, you could see how bad we were put down, run out of our, our ancestral land, and we came back time and time again, and they could never fully defeat us. Like, you mentioned, Judah Maccabee. He's probably one of my favorite, people in all of Jewish history. And, the way he got that name is when he rode back into Jerusalem after he won a serious battle. He was waving his sword in the air, and the Arabs that saw him, basically called him Maccabeus, which is the hammer, and he got the nickname the Hammer of Judea. So I have adapted that name as the Hammer of Judea, because it's just the name's just fire. I just love it, and that's how I feel, because when I give my history lessons, I feel like I'm taking a hammer and I'm smashing it down, and I'm letting you know we will not go silently into the night. They may end up defeating us, but I am not going down without taking a whole bunch of them with me.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my favorite stories too. The one you're talking about is the Battle of Nicanor.
Yes.
One of my favorite stories in all of Jewish history. Maybe we should talk about that on another podcast. But I also would just add to what I said before, that, I don't want to sound like I'm unrelatable. I grew up in New York City. I went to yeshiva my whole life. I learned from people that, they don't have the same approach as me. I'm very different than they are right now. And they taught me to behave a certain way. Jews are always supposed to be respectable and, bring honor to the people and all that kind of stuff. And what I started to see is that it became an excuse to just be afraid. And you can't say be respectable and not going to go out and fight back as a way of hiding out.
Yeah, not today. Like today, to get respect, you have to get respect. You're not going to
have
just
self-respect first.
It's that expression: if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. And
Yeah.
the days of being timid, are over. What's been like what's been the scariest moment that you've had to face in this whole time that you've been the flag guy?
I think when I went to Colombia, there was a rally with Nardine Kiswani. Don't know if you're familiar. She heads the
Unfortunately
wall. Yeah. So she was there with a few hundred people and the police, and they were pretty violent. But for the most part, I'm pretty relaxed. I actually enjoy this, believe it or not. This is something that I do for fun to a certain extent. And I would just say to my guys out there,
I love it.
If you guys like, sex and drugs, and this is better. Okay. There's nothing better than this. And if you fight for something you believe in, it's very fulfilling. You go out there and gamble and get women, it's not fulfilling. I have all the Rolexes and the BMWs. It's not going to make you happy. But
the dopamine from standing up for your people.
And you know what? Being a warrior and having the warrior mindset, that's going to make you successful in other areas of your life. It's the inner work that's going to bring you to the promised land. And I think that God is going to help people that are willing to do that right now. So
agree.
We gotta make the priority right now, I think, to stand up for ourselves and for our people first. And I think everything else is going to fall into place.
Let's hope so. From your lips to Hashem's ears, let's hope. Now, the one thing that I was looking at when, looking at a bunch of your videos and, and studying your story is that how much, now I know you stay there for a while, but how much of the people's reception are you really getting? Do you feel like you are reaching people, or do you feel like it's falling on deaf ears?
I don't typically debate with people. My goal when I go out there, at least as it relates to the haters, I have a different goal for the Jewish kids, but as it relates to the haters, is to just change the image of Jews, that we're not afraid of them, and we're not wimpy little hook-nosed money-grubbing people, and we also know how to fight, and we also understand what power looks like, and we're not afraid to fight back. And I think they do respect it. That's actually why they don't attack me or bother me for the most part, because they respect that. People can respect that. And I get those types of comments a lot, even though they don't necessarily like me or agree with me, they can at least respect the conviction.
Right, because you're standing your ground. It's like, you basically put yourself in the lion's den, and you basically have like a force field of Jewish power around you, which is spectacular. I'm very envious because I know that I don't have self control like that. I know that like I'll be using those flags like Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee and all this. And I think
Yeah.
God has put me in a position where knowing all the history that I do and how I educate people, I think that's how I can really make a difference. But there'll be a time that I know that, I mean, I hate to say it, I know that there's going to be a time that I'm going to be out and it's going to be on and popping, and I'm going to be with the people that are going to be able to back me up in the way that I know that they can. And I just hope that I hope it doesn't escalate. That's all I can hope. I'm a very passive guy in my elder years. I was a real wild kid, and I was a wild boy when I was younger. So, but a lot of that is also manifesting itself you know, into wanting to rage out. But having
You got to just channel it. Rage is good. You got to just channel it.
I try. I definitely try. So if there's a message that you could send to the Jewish people that are not so tough and don't really know what to do or how they can contribute, what would you say that they should do? What's the easiest thing that they can do?
I would say to just start reading about Jewish heroes. Read the book of Maccabees, like we talked about. Read about biblical heroes like Gideon and Joshua. And I think it'll make people feel inspired to at least understand that this is the ideal, right? We can't hit the target if we don't even know where it is. And so that is the goal here, is to emulate them. And I would say, there's 5 components to the Jewish warrior. There's discipline, unity, faith, strength, and whoops, I forgot the last one. Discipline,
Chutzpah.
unity.
What'd you say, Chutzpah?
I'm going to remember it in a minute. But the point is that we have to try to become that way, even if it's not our way. And the more of us that can start standing up for ourselves and changing the image of a Jew, I think that's the problem, is that we have an image PR problem where they put out pictures of a little 5'4" bearded, ugly Jew with a big nose, and they try and present us that way, which is not correct. But the only way to get support is if you get yourself out there and put a face to the Jewish name. And they can't. I get a lot of support because I'm the only one out there. Imagine if you have 1,000 more people, we're going to get a lot more support. Americans support Israel. So,
Oh yes,
and the warrior mentality transcends all race, religion, sexual orientation. People, the
Bushido.
unity that's on my videos, yes, because this is part of our soul. This is God as a warrior, as we mentioned before. So I think that's the only real way to fight back here. Using money and trying to get politicians or police to protect us, or the world to condemn Hamas, or any of those things, that's not going to work. We have to look inward.
To start
And it's
that start
hard.
at the level. So
Yeah.
it's almost like when it comes to politics, you have to start at the local level, in order to actually inspire some change. So I'm making a commitment, to you and all my people that I'm going to keep fighting until this. I mean, I don't even think it's ever going to be over. So I think that the fight is going to be
Agreed.
everlasting. But I just hope that in time the world can see that they've been on the wrong side. And I know, and I don't know if you know or not. I mean, maybe you, because you're the Jewish Defense Corps. Do we have those space lasers? Do we have them? I mean,
Not that I know.
because I can really fucking use them right now. I mean, there's a couple of
Yeah.
protesters that I would love to just be like, hey, laser them now.
Well, you know what I love is that the Israelis have come out with an updated Iron Dome, which instead of shooting rockets, actually is a high-powered laser. So there you go.
That's pretty
By the
fucking
way,
cool.
I just remembered the last one. It's pride, which
Right.
is the most important one. Faith, discipline, strength, unity, and pride. That's the code of the Jewish warrior. There you go.
Amen. Absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, it's been great talking with you. I don't want to take up too much of your time because it looks like it's freaking gorgeous out there, and I'd like you to, get out there and, go do your stuff. You have any plans to go to any universities in the next coming weeks?
Yeah, so probably going to do a couple more things on the West Coast, and then I'm actually moving to South Florida at the end of after Passover, so I'll be a little busy. But once I finish up with that, I should be able to
Good luck with the
continue.
move, my brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, listen, it's been a great talking to you. I know that there's a place where you accept donations for all that you do. And I encourage everyone that's watching, please, donate to the flag guy, because he's out there on the front lines, and I don't want to say risking his life, but he's risking his fucking life out there. So, you could at least throw him a couple of shekels here and there, because
Yeah,
he
I'm
does.
not looking for shekels either. This is just a way for people to be able to feel like they can participate. And I'm actually going to be putting out some merch if they want to do it that way. But this is more just for people to feel like they're part of it.
I
In
was so
terms of
wearing a flag guy shirt. Absolutely. With fucking pride. Hell yeah.
Good. All right,
Absolutely.
let's do it.
So what I like to do is, usually when I exit a podcast, I like to leave people with a quote, which, it's how I live my life, which I'd like you to live your life. And everyone that's listening, I would like you to do the same thing. We are all just here for a small cup of coffee. I'm just trying to drink it while it's still hot. I'm your boy. I am JopauL. We are brought to you by tmtfunding.info. They are the alternative business solutions guide to your business when they are in need. When your bank says no, they say yes. We have been rocking out with the flag guy. You can see him at all the universities, standing tall with American flag, Israeli flag. Don't mess with them. We love y'all. Peace and love, everyone.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely.